welcome to the channel. This is probably the biggest update, which is not only jam-packed with new content but huge improvements across the sim. I will go through every 1.5.3 update in detail so you can get stuck into your favourites. I'll also run through every car and every circuit that feature in the historic race pack part 2. But before I run through this update, please like and subscribe to keep in touch. First, let's review some feedback. Relating to the two new Formula HiTech categories, I agree, the livery artist is doing an amazing job. The FW14B is mind-blowing to drive. Mansell always said this car drove like it was on rails and could wrestle it through corners as he pleased. It drives exactly like this. Impressive. Love the details on the DRS, how you can activate it standing still and see how it moves. And what folks have been saying about GT3 cars, they are absolutely correct. Had ABS and traction control on low and it was almost on rails, and not in a bad way, as you can still absolutely get it to slide if you push too hard. Well done Reza for getting me to like GT3 cars. Fantastic race with Formula HiTech Gen 1 Model 3 at Interlargos 1991. Such a fast track. The flow and sense of speed is so good. I have to invest in some safety seat belts at this rate. Very impressed with AI when I tried the Porsche Cup in changing conditions at Barcelona yesterday. That was even before the new build, so I'm looking forward to trying it again. Fake Ferrari Interlargos, what a combo. This car drives lovely. I had a run around at Interlargos 1991 and I have to say I was not expecting so much joy. After all, the 2020 layout is very similar, if not the same as 91, but they did it. With this variant, Interlargos has entered my new favourite tracks. This historic track pack part 2 offers 2 updates. The strongest lineup of 1990s circuits to add to the list of historic racetracks, and 2 new Formula 1 race series. We already had circuits from that era: Adelaide, Imola, Hockenheim, Silverstone, Monza and Spa-Francorchamps. We also get new tracks mainly for the 1991 season: Montreal, Interlargos and Barcelona, with the addition of Interlargos 1993. Not only that, we also get 2 new car classes with a series of unique features that reflect some of the greatest technological leaps, which I'll also review. But first, let's look at the 1.5.3 updates. Almost every car now has a new tyre model update, which was started in the summer with the 1.5 update. Check out my previous video if you want to review. This not only includes a new tyre thermodynamic adjustments, which includes tyre warm-up cycle, which is car specific, but reflects the contact patch and car physics changes that make things more predictable and mistakes are more easier to catch. There is also corrected inconsistency in wet weather properties for different road tyres. This will even up AI, and this is a continued work in progress. Because the physics has changed, we'll also see a reset in some of the default setup adjustments. We saw the safety car added in the summer update, but this update we see more refinement in the application. That means we get 8 different safety cars for even more immersion. That's 2 more than my last beta video update. I will include a little bit of that here just to give this some context. The Porsche RSR is going to be the safety car in all of the Formula Retro Generation 1, 2 and 3 series. The AMG GT car is going to be in Formula Reza, Formula Ultimate, Gen 1 and 2. The Corvette 206 pace car is going to feature in the Formula USA 2023 series. Then the other 2 safety vehicles are going to feature in the Copper Truck series and all of the karting classes. By default, all of the series will have the Chevrolet Camaro as a safety car. This was the standard safety car that was in all of the races. The BMW M3 as a safety car for Formula Classic, Formula HiTech and the Formula V12 classes. The BMW 2002 is now a safety car for the GT Classics, Formula Vintage and Touring Car Vintage classes. These supersede some of the information that I gave in my previous video. Finally, to all these additions, we see an update to the modern F1 safety car. This car now gets a co-driver. No longer will the driver be alone. This now reflects a real-life series where the co-driver gets information from race control on when the safety car starts, what happens during the safety cycle, and when to come in. Reza has also made some big inroads with the AI driver calculation when overtaking a car ahead. Previously, the AI could pull alongside too early and lose draft, preventing the overtake. This means we will see much more competitive racing across the AI. This has also meant they have added increased car awareness for the AI when overtaking. This will now minimise car-to-car contact. This again is an ongoing improvement as they balanced good close racing with jeopardy. But from the feedback I've seen and what I've experienced, we've all experienced great races. The next AI performance update is a globally adjusted AI performance which impacted higher fuel loads. That means that when you were racing previously at the start, the AI would have a big advantage because they wouldn't technically be carrying the same amount of fuel as you. This has been completely recalculated, so the balance of performance will be much more competitive. We'll also, in line with this, but in addition to, we'll also see adjusted AI tyre wear rates. That means that AI tyre wear would also be in line with your tyre wear. Previously that wasn't calculated. That also had an impact on how pit stops were timed when racing. We should now expect the AI to come in at a similar time for tyre change or additional fuel. The Formula Junior now gets adjusted player and opponent engine sounds adjustments. The Formula V12, which is what we have here, has adjusted on-board engine sounds. On the left-hand side we've got the previous sound sample. On the right hand side we've got the new sample. If you listen, you can see a distinct change and improvement in the sound quality. Reza has also added colour matched driver outfits and helmets. Before, many of the drivers would default to a plain white or grey overalls and gloves. The helmets might be a standard white or black with a little bit of detail, but now every single helmet across most of the classes have driver specific race suits and have individual driver helmet colours. There's also new dust effect on the circuit and in the runoff areas. Normally when you look at the circuit you can see the tarmac, and apart from the rubber deposits, the track remains fairly clean. Now when you start there's dust off the racing line. In particular with the Formula cars you can see the dust, and this will slowly clear as the race progresses. Formula Ultimates, both generations, will also have an improved transparent halo. Track updates for Interlargos 2020. This has now got added 3D foliage and added terrain materials and textures. We can see here straight ahead that there's a difference between the previous build and the new build on the right hand side. As we come around the corner out of turn 3, we can see on the left hand side there's now palm trees, whereas before there wasn't. In fact, as you go around the circuit you'll be able to see additional foliage and environmental changes. As we head towards the end of the lap, you can actually see on the left hand side there's a grass area. This is more reflective of some of the grass and mud that can show up. As we head out of the lap you can actually see on the left hand side very quickly the difference between the grass area and the new grass that's been merged with some of the dry mud. And then on the right hand side you can see added foliage again. Remember, if you like this content, please like and subscribe to keep in touch. Reese has done a great job capturing the essence of the early 90s cars that were packed full of features. The new build introduces the new Formula HiTech with 2 classes. Each car is distinct in their design and is a reflection of the period that featured new Formula 1 technologies. The great thing is you will get to use every gadget that's equipped in these Formula 1 cars as it advanced in this era. We've got 2 new formulas, Formula HiTech Gen 1 and Formula HiTech Gen 2. Gen 1 consists of 5 models, Gen 2 consists of 4 models. Formula HiTech 1 Model 1 is based on the famous double flat bottom floored Ferrari, which produced a competitive level of downforce but was hamstrung by the Ferrari's V12 engine, which suffered excessive blow-by. Poor reliability, low power really troubled the Ferrari in this era. Formula HiTech Gen 1 Model 2 was based on the Adrian Newey FW14B, featuring semi-automatic transmission, active suspension, including the world's first DRS system, and traction control. All these features can be adjusted in the setup screen. Winning 10 out of the 16 Grand Prix that year, the FW14B is considered one of the fastest and most technologically advanced Formula 1 cars ever to hit the racetrack. After Williams had designed the car, causing extra drag on the straights, 4 engineers had to find a solution. They added a special button on the steering wheel that could completely change the suspension's maximum straight line potential. The DRS system didn't affect the rear wing, it affected the height of the car. With the help of the DRS button, the car was 10 kilometers faster on the straight than the previous generation, a significant difference. The only drawback of the system was that the drivers had to manually engage and disengage the button, which Mansell didn't particularly like, as he sometimes forgot to turn it off. Next we've got the Formula HiTech Gen 1 Model 3, based on the Benetton, which finished 3rd in the Constructors' Championship in 1992, after scoring points in every race that season. This car was devoid of all electronic aids, but the high nose and well balance made it a very stable, reliable car. The HiTech 1 Model 4 has the same chassis as the Williams FW14B, but without any of the Williams electronic gadgets. This car is loosely based on the Tyrrell. His 5th car, which is a replica McLaren MP2/7. This was the first McLaren to use a semi-automatic transmission. This system allowed the driver to keep his foot on the pedal without lifting from it, since the throttle cable was replaced with an electronic sensor. This also controlled engine speed, rev matching and clutch actuation to automatically trigger during gear change. Next, we've got the Formula HiTech Generation 2. This is based on the 1993 season. The Formula HiTech 2 Model 1 is based on the Ferrari F93A. The car carried the team's own 745 brake horsepower V12 engine and was driven by Jean Alesi and Gerhard Berger, who had returned to the team after 3 years at McLaren. Unfortunately, the car was not competitive and the Ferrari ended its 3rd consecutive year winless. The HiTech 2 Model 2 is based on the Williams FW15C, designed by Adrian Newey. It was powered by a Renault V10 engine and driven by Alan Prost and Damon Hill. This is the car that won both the Drivers' and Constructors' Championship in the last season before the FIA banned electronic driver aids. The FW15C, along with its racing predecessor, was considered to be one of the most technologically sophisticated Formula 1 cars of all time, incorporating anti-lock brakes, traction control, active suspension and semi-automatic and fully automatic gearbox. You get to use all of these gadgets in this car, which is also shared across some of the other models. The HiTech 2 Model 3 is based on the high-nose Benetton designed by Ross Brawn and Rory Byrne. The car was powered by a Cosworth HPA engine in an initially exclusive deal with Ford. Unlike previous years, this car was advanced, featuring active suspension, semi-automatic transmission and traction control. Again, to finish off the HiTech series, the HiTech 2 replica is the McLaren MP4/8. This car was designed by Neil Oatley around advanced electronic technologies, including semi-automatic transmission, which could be switched over to full automatic. Yes, you get to do this on the fly also. It's got active suspension, which is adjustable, two-way telemetry and traction control, which is also available. This was also the first McLaren to feature barge boards. In the setup screen, you can see there were options for active suspension, an auto gearbox. By adjusting these, you can change the way the car behaves on corners, as it actively changes the suspension. You can also change the gearbox configuration. Adjustments for the gearbox, traction control and anti-lock brakes can also be found in the dash adjustments. The Canadian Grand Prix was first held in the circuit in 1978, where the hometown hero Gilles Villeneuve won for Ferrari. The Grand Prix quickly became the mainstay of the Formula One calendar, with a race taking place at Montreal for the next 30 years. The circuit hasn't fundamentally changed with the constraints of the layout, but there's been a few tweaks. In 1991, the Canadian Grand Prix was the 5th round of the championship. The Canadian Grand Prix served as the championship's second visit to North America in 91. And even though the circuit is challenging, the one thing you notice is the high curbs that really keep you inside the track limits. It's turns 12 and 13 that is tighter versus the modern layouts, and we have to gear right down the high curbs, risking destabilising the car. Ayrton Senna was denied both pole and victory for the first time all season in Canada, and Riccardo Patrese took pole and Nelson Piquet stole victory. Patresi's teammate Mansell looked set to win, having led every lap, until a late gearbox issue caused him to retire on the final lap, handing victory to Piquet. It's along the back straight where we also see differences now. With the advent of DRS, modern circuits need to have long straights to be able to get them to activate and assist overtaking. Stefano Modena beat Patrese to second while Senna retired before the halfway mark in his McLaren Honda, while the new Jordan Grand Prix team collected their first points in Formula One. The new added Interlargos 1991 circuit. Ayrton Senna made a perfect start to lead for Mansell, Riccardo Patrese, Alesi and Berger, building up a lead of 3 seconds by lap 8. You'll notice on the first corner the Senna S's, the corners were a bit different and you can make a much better approach driving on the inside. Then you have the curbs, all the rest of the track, unlike 2020 version where you can play with the track limits and find lap time. You can't do that in 91. You have to stay on the circuit, making the racing lines more pure. Then there were bumps, curbs, the whole general vibe of the track. Like Montreal, the layouts are similar, but the experiences are slightly different. The 2020 layout, although very similar, but not the same as 91, the topography is in fact different. Within the track, there's a big climb between T6 and T7. That got smoothed out in 1995, and around the track, especially the runoffs, are often off camber. Back in 91, despite new technologies of these cars, they were still very delicate. In fact, Mansell's gearbox that gave way first, forcing Williams to spin and causing him to retire on lap 61. Within just a couple of laps, Senna also lost 5th gear. He then went on to lose 3rd gear. Patrese was catching him rapidly, but with the gearbox problems of his own, he was unable to pass. Senna won by 2.9 seconds ahead of Patrese when he crossed the finish line. Coming into the pits was more dangerous in those days, and they added a pit entry chicane to reduce speeds at the time when there was no speed limits. When we compare the 1991 to the 1993 Interlargos, there isn't huge differences, but circuits evolve over time, and you can see some of the changes. On the left hand side you can see the development of the pit area, which was updated in 93. Further along, looking into the circuit, we can see some changes in the advertising boards, which is the level of detail Riese has gone into. At the start of the 1991 season in Barcelona, Senna got away well and challenged Berger, while Mansell was right on his tail. Towards the end of the lap 1, Schumacher surprised Mansell to take 3rd place. The track was incredibly slippery due to pre-race rain that cleared any grip, so there was a lot of action at the front, with Senna, Schumacher, Mansell and Alesi fighting for 3rd place, while Berger started to scamper away into the lead. Mansell tried to chase the leader and force his way past Schumacher before setting off after Senna. Eventually he pounced on the main straight, and the two great rivals going wheel to wheel just millimetres apart, with Mansell taking the position and setting off after Berger. This historic Barcelona, like so many of the circuits of their era, had a distinct lack of runoff. Much of the first part of the track feels like the same layout, but as you head into the second half, the layout changes with a better layout in my opinion. But compared to modern layouts, as I've said before, you need long straights for DRS zones. In 1991 you had 2 sweeping high-speed bends. Mansell tried to chase the leader to force his way past Schumacher before setting off after Senna. Eventually he pounced on the main straight. Prost was the first front runner to stop for dry tyre, followed shortly by leader Berger, who had a very bad stop. Mansell and Senna both stopped at the same lap, and it was the McLaren team that were getting Senna out ahead. The close battle ended in 91 when Schumacher spun while trying to pass. He would stay in the race, but was down in 6th, which would become 5th when Berger retired. In the end, Mansell closed on Berger on lap 20 to make his way up to take the lead and proceeded to pull away for the victory. The historic track part 2. This is probably the biggest update, which is not only jam-packed with new content, but huge improvements across the sim. Reese has done an amazing job with this 1.5.3 update, with the physics, improved AI, safety cars, audio, colour matched helmets, track updates. I don't know what's coming next, but hopefully we can all look forward to the Le Mans Endurance Track Pack with a whole host of new cars with all of these updates incorporated in the new year. Remember, if you like this, please like and subscribe to see more content. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you at the next one.